Hello everyone, my name is Blanca spee and I'm from the Radboud University Medical Center in the Netherlands. I'm really excited to present it to you today from remote at the Art Beyond Movement Symposium, and I hope you have a lovely day and loads of interesting talks. And I'm gonna tell you today about investigating experienced creativity changes in people with Parkinson's disease. So what is Parkinson's disease? It is a neurodegenerative condition characterized by a specific loss of dopamine-producing cells. The current prevalence worldwide is 11.8 million people, and it's rising. And this disease is characterized as a movement disorder, but it also influences the cognitive level, the affective level, and all these three together, motor, cognitive, and affective, influences again the social aspects of life. So it's a very holistic, actually, change what people experience in their daily life. We always say there's a triangle actually of influencing factors, and of course there's also a gene factor. And about 20% it is the risk, it can be explained actually about genetics, so the genetic factor actually of developing Parkinson's disease. But actually only 3 to 5%, apologies, are purely monogenic. There are environmental factors in discussion, under which also falls pesticides and toxic damage directly in the dopaminergic system. And there's the strong link which is trying to be actually established and also explaining the rising prevalence. And there's lifestyle, like physical exercise, a healthy diet, but also creativity may act as protective factors. Certainly what they do and what have been shown is improve quality of life and also support autonomy of care. And this is very important considering the rising prevalence of Parkinson's disease. But today we look at creativity. So what has been shown actually with Parkinson's disease and creativity? Mainly it is actually based on case reports and anecdotal evidence about artistic engagement from neurologists, from different kind of doctors, but also from art researchers. And what has been reported was mainly in the visual arts, but also in music. They observed changes in artistic patterns, so actually that they change from realism to more abstraction, they use brighter colors, and that there's more emotional expressivity in there. It has been related to hyperdopaminergic behavior, which I'm going to talk shortly about, and there are declines because it was also connected to obsessive behaviors, many papers, but there are declines of this obsessive creative activity when you have deep brain stimulation, which mainly also uses that you have reduction of medication intake, but I'm going to talk about this. So we wanted to take it a step further. So we have case evidence, we have anecdotal evidence, so where can we still start? And we started with epidemiological evidence actually. And we asked 793 people in the Netherlands, do you experience a change in your creativity? And we left the definition of creativity quite open, so the person's self-experience of being creatively active. And 41% actually told us, yes, I'm experiencing a change. 12% reported an increase, 22% a decrease in their creativity, and about 7% actually experienced ups and downs in their creative activity. So this is a very high number and gave us, actually legitimation and lots of implications. Okay, we should go further and explore further. If we look at ordinary regression modeling, we found that people taking dopamine agonists and who had the disease longer actually were more likely to report an increase, and older people and people who were creatively active before they developed Parkinson's disease were more likely to report a decrease. And I just leave it here for now, these results, but because these are first findings, as said, leave too many new implications. And we also looked in a sub-cohort of these, about 800 people, in what kind of way were you creatively active, in what kind of domain. And what you see, they were mainly active not only in fine art and design, but also in sports and movement, in domestic activities. It was the most. And also in music, sing and sound. So people were all over the place actually creatively active. We went a step further and took a neuropsychological evidence. It was a neuropsychological investigation. And there we looked at 360 people, and we actually asked them, okay, what was your creativity actually before you had any symptoms? When you noticed your first symptoms, after you received the diagnosis, and currently. And what you can see here in the graph is actually that the more it comes to current creativity, so the further it goes into the timeline, more and more people have reported an increase. The decrease also increased, but less strong actually was the increase, and that they do not experience a change, actually this decreased. We used machine learning, and I do not show you the whole list actually of variables which we included. You can find this in the paper. But we used a range of actually personality-related factors like the big fives, but also schizotypy, which was divided into positive, negative, and disorganized schizotypy. And we also included current lifestyle actually, not only current lifestyle, but also the creative lifestyle over time. And we also included some contextual factors like increased free time because of the diagnosis and I cannot work anymore. Or, well, my partner told me so, I should go and do something. So what we find and what were the significant factors was, again, next to having a creative lifestyle actually all the time, that it increases and then it increases even more during current creativity. Again, dopamine agonist was a very strong predictor, but also free time. And also positive association with extroversion, so people who were extroverted, and it has a negative association with disorganized schizotypy. So people who were high in disorganized schizotypy showed a decrease actually in creativity. So I think it's time to look at the definition of creativity, and it's still an open matter, right? So this is more this philosophical discussion. What is actually creativity? And yeah, it's still a matter of debate. The very, very basic definition is that creativity is generated of novel and useful ideas. So it also needs to generate something, which is a quite difference actually to, and which I show you actually in the very last bullet point, to repetitive behavior. So creativity produces something, at least in static learning processes, and it is separated to punding. Punding is repetitive behavior, and to extreme hobbyism. So even though, we go back to the second bullet point, it has been linked to the big C's, to the big arts like visual art, music and dance, it actually goes beyond these big arts. It's also about innovative thinking, it's about adaptability, it's about knowledge integration. Might it even be a creative process to handle your own Parkinson's with your own issues and problems which you have? So we included everyday creativity action in all our interventions. So that includes cooking, gardening, sports, science, technology, and more. And it can also even be an internal experience. So it's not only has to be a tangible product, but it's also about imagination and a satisfaction of some achievement. So it needs to have some kind of closure, some ending. So how does it look like actually in the brain? So the dopaminergic pathways, and these are only the main ones, we have the nigrostriatal pathway, which is related actually to movement. We have the mesolimbic pathway, which is about motivation, reward learning, and incentive salience. And we have the mesocortical executive associative processing. And all these are relevant for creative process in a very specific way. It needs to be balanced. So the frontal areas and the striatal areas in the back, they need to have a balance in their activity. At least this is the latest model, which actually was published. So because if you're in your inner brain structures, you have to low dopamine, like with Parkinson's, with untreated Parkinson's disease, you're rigid on all levels, with the movement, with the cognition, with the associate. It depends on an individual level, but there's rigidity. If you have too high striatal dopamine, it gets obsessive and impulsive. So there's no useful production anymore possible. And the same with the frontal areas. If there's no stability, but it's too low or too high, it leads to distractibility or preservation. So there needs to be a balance. How is this now connected to Parkinson's disease? So Parkinson's disease, the dopamine replacement therapy mainly focuses on the restoration of the nigrostriatal motor function. But the proposed mechanism, actually what appears to be happening in the brain with people with Parkinson, is that you have an overactive, relative intact mesolimbic pathway, which actually leads to a heightened incentive saliency and motivational drive. So in Parkinson's disease, the DA agonist-related mesolimbic drive may increase time on task output, and the outcomes likely depend on the overall balance. It still needs to be this balance, so to really come to a real creative process. And of course, this is our only association. It is in the first model, and it's not proof of causation. The heterogeneity across individuals is very much so. So if you have 10 people with Parkinson's, 100 people with Parkinson's, you have 10 different symptom pictures actually, or 100 different symptom pictures. So there needs to be more testing. So now we look, in the very last minutes I have, what if we treat art with a drug? What if we reverse it actually? And I want to really heighten here 2 points. It's not about that art is supposed to be a drug. It's supposed that we should investigate art's engagement as it were a drug. So really rigorously strong testing and scientific, really fun scientific proof for on what kind of level it has positive, but also negative effects. So we need to include the whole picture. So we started some pilot study. We started our project 2 years ago. We did some pilot testing of a co-designed creative program, and it actually led to reduced anxiety, increased well-being, and decrease in healthcare usage, which is very exciting. And we did now a pilot RCT study, which we just finished the data collection in a month. So I hope I can present more data actually the next time. And in our review, we also look at diverse kind of creative arts engagements. There are different kinds of modality, different kinds of domains, and many show potential motor and non-motor benefits. But still, the evidence is limited. So we need more research, more study. And there's this, what a big learning effect was I also want to give us as a giveaway message. It needs to be guided in some kind of way. There is this risk that people develop some kind of ICD, so impulse controllers or opanding and hobbyist, especially if they are taking dopamine agonists. It is just a side effect of the medication, and creativity might fall under this kind of activities. But if it's guided, and this is also our work which we did together with people with Parkinson's the last 2 years, learn them and teach them. You also need dopamine for learning, so it's very good actually to enter a learning process also here as well. But intensity, that they need to sleep, they need to learn to stop, and then it really is very helpful. What about AI art? So I actually want to highlight 4 points because I'm very excited about AI art, but I do not yet have worked with it. So I would really love to collaborate actually with people who are really into this AI art and know how to prompt the machine. So I think it is very low motor demand. So this is a very positive way actually to be creatively active. It is a very accessible medium. We all learn very quickly actually to handle all kinds of AR tools. It is a fast feedback loop and a very specific meta level. So also on the concept level. So it might even increase actually how people experience actually a flow. And what is so beautifully there, you can also use it as a research tool. Maybe the prompt logs as objective measures. So I really would love to think about all the possibilities, and I think there are many. Still, there is this risk and discussion point. Yeah, please be careful also here. It needs at least some kind of guidance so that it does not swap into too much exactly creativity. And there's this general, but it's a matter of different discussion about using all AI tools about ethics and authorship. But I think it's all co-creativity, right? You work with the medium. Well, I finished with my presentation, and I want to say we have a responsibility towards society, not only to give people with Parkinson's to create art, but also to communicate it to society, to reduce stigma and get a new understanding actually of what is Parkinson's and what people with Parkinson's are capable of, and how we can learn from them. really to see life in a much more holistic way, and how art can be used in a healthy way to improve autonomy in care. Here's some further images. Thank you.